2, 1. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting film journey here on Delusions of Grandeur. I am one of your hosts, and today we are going to be discussing, since it is the Halloween month, some horror films. So, Tammy, why don't you tell us a little bit about? Actually, before we go into Tammy, uh, did we want to check out the trailer of the movie that we're going to go see?
Sounds good to me.
All right, 1 second here. Oh, uh, um, uh, never mind. Here, I would have had to download it first. I didn't want to share a screen. Tammy, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and, well, not a little bit about yourself, a little bit about the movie that you had us watch.
It's from 1999, I believe. It's called The Haunted. It's a remake of, I believe, 1962
Yep,
movie.
and an earlier novel by Shirley Jackson from the 1950s, I believe.
In researching it, we found out that actually Stephen King originally was writing on it and decided not to continue on. In fact, he
Wait,
took the writings that he had written for this and
wait
turned them into Rose Red.
Yeah,
Stephen King, but
Stephen King
was
and Steven Spielberg were supposedly originally in talks about putting together a version of The Haunting, but they
a
discovered they
version.
had
I thought,
creative
yeah,
differences.
I thought you were saying that Stephen King had something to do with the original story being written, and I was
No,
like, isn't the original a bit too old for that?
well, yes.
No, they were working on what would have been this version, and it fell through.
Ah,
And so Stephen King actually took his writings that he had started for this one and turned them into Rose Red, and somebody else continued this one.
Yep, Frank de Bont, or Jan de Bont, is the director of this one, actually. Um,
What is advertised in the paper as a sleep study gets our characters to come to this this house, and it's not really a sleep study. They don't know that it's more a fear study, but they're not aware of that when they come. That doesn't that's not relayed to them till later. So
yep, and the film stars Liam Neeson. You've got Catherine Zeta-Jones. Uh, we have Owen Wilson, amongst a few others. Did we want to see what IMDb said about the movie?
go ahead. I can't get into that and be out here.
Alrighty. Well, IMDb gives it a 5.0, which is kind of funny because I actually thought it was actually a pretty decent a remake. So it does say a study in fear escalates into a heart-stopping nightmare for a professor and three subjects trapped in a mysterious mansion. And Lily Taylor is in the role of Nell, or otherwise known as Eleanor. Bruce Stern and Marion Seltz also stars in here, and so on and so forth. Oh,
We found out that the mansion itself really does exist, but most of the inside shots were shot in Florida in a studio.
yeah, I believe it was called Halifax Manor in that was set in England. That is the outside of appearance of the castle or whatever, because they call it Hill House. Well, and it is phenomenally huge. I love the shots of the outside exterior. What about you guys?
The mansion was
Oh,
built like in 1862.
oh, I definitely like the aesthetics of the house, both on the outside and inside. It's personally one of my favorite aspects of the movie.
I know the way they portray the inside is just, it's so humongous. It's just wow, but that's not actually for real. That's, a set. The inside is, not the outside though.
Uh, that's kind of sad. I would love to have such things in the house where I live. All those Gothic decorations and stuff. I really like it.
They said a few of the shots, like in the parlor and things, were actually the inside of the house, because the inside of the house is very intricate and does have a lot of the have carvings and wood in the woodwork and everything. So there was just a few shots that were the actual inside of the house.
I wonder if that carousel circular mirrored room is actually inside the house.
Huh.
But well, let's get into a little bit of the plot. Well, let's get into first impressions first. So, Boris, now that you have seen this film a second time, what are your first impressions of your second time?
Nicely worded question. Yeah, this is the second time I watched this movie since the first time was a while ago when you and I discussed it by ourselves before others joined us. And yeah, there were a lot of things that I had forgotten since I had watched the movie before. So this second watching refreshed my memory, although some basic things I didn't forget, of course. And I would say I really enjoyed the movie this second time as well. Uh, like I said, all these gothic or
Would you say you enjoyed it more this time, or did you, uh, or was it the same as your first time watch of it, or do you like it less?
well, maybe the first time was a little more intense and suspenseful because it was the first time and I didn't know what to expect, and now I did know at least the basics of what to expect. Like I knew how it was going to end, so. Uh, but I wouldn't say I like it any less now. But yeah, the first time was maybe keeping me more on edge than the second time. But I guess that's normal.
Okay. Is that pretty much it for your first impressions of your second watch?
I guess so.
Alrighty. What about you, Tammy? How many times have you seen this
A lot.
movie?
Oh wow.
It's
And
one of
you,
my. It's one that I really like a lot. I like the. Uh, I mean, obviously there's CGI in it, but I like how things are done. I mean, to me, it's. I don't think they overdo it. I mean, some of the reviews I think said that they thought they did, but I don't think they overdid the CGI. Um, I think the CGI that was in it was appropriate for giving the right effects at the right time. And I like
Oh,
how
definitely. And although I'm generally not very good at noticing flaws in CGI, in this movie I really cannot think of anything that could have or should have been done better than it was.
right, I think how they like certain times when you're seeing the 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 cherubs of the children in the wood and that their faces change and what things like that. It's just I think that how they did it was really good, and I think how they built things up to where it goes in the movie was good too. They just you know slight little things happening to where it builds it all the way up, so you don't have all this stuff happening all at once right off the bat. You kind of build into it. So I don't know. I've just always liked it. So, of course, I do like the original, but I've always liked this one too, and I don't get tired of watching it.
okay. Um, and myself, I have seen this multiple times. Uh, I don't get sick of watching this a movie. I did watch it in the theater when it came out. I do remember going and seeing it, um, and I loved it. I like the house. I like the haunting of it. I like the fact that uh, you can see that the house is malevolent. Um, and yeah, I mean it's a little bit different from the original because the original involved the doctor's wife being one of the people who ended up showing up at the mansion and stuff like that. So, uh,
Oh yeah, I forgot. Uh, uh, I remember you said something. I'm not sure if it was this movie that you said this about, but I think it was that there was some copyright issue because of which they weren't allowed to replicate any particular sequence from the original. They had to make sure that nothing looked the same.
well, as a director, you kind of want to make things your own. So
Uh, that maybe I mistook it for something else.
that might be from a different film, but there are definitely certain things that could be probably considered under copyright. Things that they probably had to change specifically for the fact that this is a reimagining um, and whatnot. I remember getting into an argument with a guy on a fairly like popular blog, uh, and I'm sorry, but he was publicly stating that he just couldn't get into this movie because of Lily Taylor's whining throughout the whole film, or he called it a high pitched whinny. Uh, that he just couldn't get into it because of her overacting, and I had to speak up. But um, I remember, watching this and thinking, hey, this young woman is, uh, well, in a sense, you could call it that she had just gotten out of an abusive relationship from her dead mother. You know, that's kind of how the film begins, because it starts out in that small apartment that she had been living in with her sick mother, which, from what I understand and what we gather, she was quite demanding and I think quite psychologically abusive. Toward
I Yeah, this when I watched the movie this time, the talk about her made me kind of think of Norman Bates' mother. Okay, not maybe she wasn't that bad, but it did kind of remind me of that.
well, and every single time that I see this movie, that little kid that's like her nephew or whatever, he really fucking annoys me. I mean, he's meandering around the apartment. There's all kinds of breakables, and he almost fucking breaks one of those China-looking dolls, and then he's like, Eleanor, I gotta pee.
Isn't he a little Damien?
Hmm. Those are the types of brats that I don't think should be on this earth.
Uh, okay, I wouldn't. Maybe I wouldn't go that far, but I would say that I probably. I wouldn't have the patience to deal with them myself, but I wouldn't go as far as to say they shouldn't exist.
Well, anyways, Tammy, what did you think about this very beginning scene where it seems like the brother-in-law and sister are kind of like relaying to her because I guess he is the executor of the will and whatnot, telling her that they're going to sell the place and give her this tiny dinky ass car, and they expect her to come and be like their son's nanny and take care of like their shit and be their like little bitch, basically.
I think they're very disrespectful and rude and inconsiderate of her after all that she has done to take care of the mother, because it sounds like she was the only one that stepped up to take care of the mother, and this is what she gets in return. Is now that they're gonna, treat her like crap and take everything away from her and expect her to take care of them and their household. Don't you think, it's like, don't you think she deserves a life? She has spent most of her life taking care of the mother. No.
And it's almost like giving that brother-in-law the executive willpower. It's almost like her mother's punishment, uh, you know, for not taking care of her the best way, at least maybe in her mind.
Yeah, so
Uh,
people are just rude.
Yep. So it doesn't really look like she has really anything to look forward to in her current situation. But she tells them to get the hell out, and her attention is drawn to, what did I tell you about the typing? I can
oh, sorry.
No, you're not, because you'll do it again. But in any case, we have her attention is placed onto a newspaper ad.
She gets a phone call and it says
She
to
does
look
get a phone call, which puts her attention on this newspaper ad of a sleep study that's being done, and I believe a set amount of money is being offered for these people, and she ends up calling the place. And so next you see her driving her way to this house, which is supposedly in Massachusetts. And you see her pull up to this massive gate, and she walks up to it, and that's when Mr. Dudley shows up. And he's kind of nonchalant with her, like he's somewhat welcoming her, but somewhat not. You know, he's somewhat off-putting with some of his commentary. But he says something like, "What is it about houses that you know?" I'm trying to think what he exactly says. And then he pulls the chain off and lets her in, and she goes up.
Something that the chains keep both sides more comfortable, something like that.
Oh yeah, I don't know what it is about houses. Sometimes people feel safer with chains around them. Sometimes it's keeping them in, and sometimes it's keeping whatever out. But anyway, she goes up to the house. She is about to knock. The door opens, and she walks into the. That's when you first see the first massive circular entrance away, and it's massive. And she ends up. I think she ends up walking up this massive staircase. Or is it that she goes down the hallway and hears a chopping? Because she actually has to go and find Mrs. Dudley, and she's like, hello, and she's like, well, it's either make the dinner or greet the guests. It can't all be done at once.
Yeah, although if she wasn't expecting guests, who was she making dinner for in the first place?
Well, as
Well,
she
she was expecting them, but she couldn't. She could be making the dinner and answer the door at the same time as what she was saying.
yeah,
Ah,
she can't be in two places at once. So she ends up taking her to her room, which, as you can see, is quite a room. I mean, a lot of
oh yeah.
it is made of wood. That's when you see the first glances of the children carved into the bedposts, and everything is ornate, and everything looks like it's made of wood. You can tell that money went into this place, you know. So, um, what do y'all think about Mrs. Dudley and what she begins to tell her? That
Dinner is served at 6. They leave. When they leave before sunset. They don't.
Well, I think she I think she was a little too unfriendly towards them, and we never really found out why.
I think she knew that the house was haunted. That's why she made her little speech about when they leave that there's nobody around for 9 miles, and the closest place is in town, and nobody in town will come after dark. They will not come after dark. You know.
Uh, yeah, but that doesn't explain why she was acting like she hated the mere fact that there was anyone there in the first place.
I actually got more put off by the original Mrs. Dudley in the black and white adaptation by Robert Wise than this one. This one was a little bit more friendlier because when she talked about how beautiful the room was, the only comment she made after that was like, "Yes, it is, but it's a lot to dust." You know.
Oh, okay, I forgot how it was in the original.
Yeah, in the original, she was a little bit more off-putting and more deadpan. This one was more, I don't know, like she was tired, she had a lot to do, and she just wanted to get out of there as soon as possible, get dinner set, and then leave before dark. And then, of course, the next guest arrives, which is Theo, played by Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Oh,
She exudes sexuality like
oh yeah.
she comes in her high booted Prada, um, and she was very particular about saying Milan, not you know. So she definitely looked like she was a well dressed woman, and she came in like she was very luxurious. Like you could tell that she had money and was like a fashion model of some sort or something like that.
Yeah.
And this is a little bit off-putting for Nell because Nell is a little bit more private. She's unsure about herself. Nell is in this like turtleneck where uh, Catherine Zeta-Jones's character Theo, she strips down to her night shift, and the camera pans in on her uh, sexuality a bit. And it pans in on some of her uncomfortableness around her, showing off so much of her skin. She even turns around while she's dressing and whatnot, so you can see all this. What do y'all think about that?
Uh, I have to say I really liked the design of Theo as a character. Her eccentricity and all that. I think she was really cool.
I do too. What about you, Tammy? What did you think about Theo as a character?
She was very flamboyant, very, this is me. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. I'm going to act like this. And I mean, I know we didn't get to the third character yet, but just a little thing I wanted to say is it's very interesting that they set these three up that are so completely different from each other. All three of these have totally different personalities and everything, and I think all three all have totally different ways of looking at life and have it's that I think that's part of what makes this you know so
Well, and Luke in the original The Haunting, he was the character of Luke was actually one of the um, one of the people that was actually a descendant of of the people who owned Hill House in the original.
Oh, I forgot.
In this one, he's just another sleep contestant, you know, for this sleep study, you know. So that's a little bit different. You don't get that much of a backstory except that which Dr. Markham tells you, um, you know, throughout, and that which he, you know, relays later through rumor, you know.
Yeah, he uses some reverse psychology there.
But so Owen Wilson comes in. In fact, at the moment that the girls are actually exploring the house, um, in fact, there is some exploration that they seem to have done. Like, it's like these two are like the best of friends at this moment, you know, and they're like two young girls exploring a house.
Kind of, yeah.
And they
But
end
in
up,
a way, I think they're exploring each other too.
yes, because even in the original uh, novel, I believe, there was a sort of lesbian exploration of those two. I think it was somewhat explored in the novel. It was somewhat explored in the original black and white version, but uh, I believe that there were stories that the actress who played it, Eleanor, um, in the original, uh, evidently she was very rough to work with on set. So I think there was tension between those two to begin with. So there's not really that much tension between these two right now. I think Nell and Theo seem to like each other, and that's why when you first meet them, and she's like, Theo is like, so, what about husbands, wives, girlfriends, Eleanor? But they end up running smack dab into Luke, which Luke right away seems enamored by Theo. In fact, I like Luke's tongue and cheekness when he's flirting with her at the dinner table. Which that reminds me, Dr. Markham shows up with two of his um, people, and there is also a scene where Dr. Markham is actually talking to his superior about the whole experiment. How I don't think that he got any funding for this project, so he went ahead with it anyway. Right, Tammy?
Uh,
Did he have any funding for this experiment, or?
I think he had some. I know he argued with somebody about it beforehand, about how important the sleep study was. You know, before they left, he was arguing with somebody about it. He said that's why he had to go to this place to do it. He needed the isolation.
Yeah, and I think that's where we get the whole. You don't tell the rats that they're in the maze line. You put them in the maze, and then you let them figure it out for their own dumb self. But so he ends up showing up with his two helpers, and the one, which is a female, she right away seems to be affected by the atmosphere of the house. In fact, her whole outlook looks like she's very scared to be there. And so when she got up and started expressing her feelings during that dinner, and she felt like the house didn't want her there. All of a sudden, that string snapped and fucked up her eye like really bad. What did y'all think about that moment?
I thought that was
Well,
kind of interesting because she was playing that instrument before. It seemed to be enjoying playing it, and then when they got into that discussion and she started doing her feelings, you saw the thing, the 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 winder for the string start moving, and you knew something was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to hit her like that though, but yeah. It was kind of like it was kind of like, well, see, because we don't realize yet, but now when you look back on it, it was kind of like the house saying, "I don't need you here. Get out of here,"
yeah, that was like the first sign of something paranormal happening there, and it kind of should have been a red flag to everyone.
But they just took it as an accident, I think, because she had already been playing the instrument. So I think they took it as an accident that maybe when she was playing it that it was brittle or something, and that's why it snapped.
Yeah. So shortly after, well, we saw the two helpers leave, and we saw that Nell was actually very competent in helping get something to help her with her eye to keep the blood out of her eye. So they went off, and then I think there was a moment. There was a moment where uh,
Wait. Did you find it interesting that he was able to unlock the gate to let them out and lock it back up, but later on he can't unlock the gate?
Oh, good point. I didn't think of that.
yeah, that was strange, right?
Yep.
Like he had keys to
Hmm.
open up the thing, anyways.
Yeah, because he
Although,
unlocked. You saw him unlock the chain, unlock the lock on the gate, and let them out, and rewrap the chain and lock it. But then later on, when they're trying to leave, he has no way to open the gate.
well, that's because the Dudleys had actually already left. Because remember, they were there to make dinner, and then
Right.
supposedly,
But then, how did he have keys to let them out? But then unlock to unlock the gate. But then later on, he didn't.
because maybe still at that time the Dudleys were actually still around. And that could be somewhat explainable, but I get what you're saying. If he had the keys all along, why didn't he just give Owen the keys?
Right.
Yeah, good point. I wonder if maybe someone mentioned that as a flaw on the IMDb.
Well, it is curious because you don't exactly see the Dudleys leave. They don't even give a presence that they were gone, like in the original House on Haunted Hill. When those caretakers left, at least you heard like a door slam, and they left all of a sudden. You know,
But House on Haunted Hill is an entirely different story, just
I know,
similar
I
title.
know, but there they had caretakers too, and
Ah,
they had the option to leave before midnight in that particular story. Whereas, it's very possible that the Dudleys were still there since they had just had dinner.
I think in the original, you know when the Dudleys leave, also compared to this one.
Correct. So it does give you the offsetting a thing that maybe Dr. Markham actually could have done more to help out later on, which gives more levity when Theo later tells him, "You don't feel anything," you know.
oh yeah, kind of implying that he was a psychopath, which up until that moment he kind of did seem a bit like that.
Well, he was there for different reasons, and he had put this together for different reasons. He knew a little bit more of the darker story of Hill House, but I don't think even he knew the entire story as Nell figured it out in her heightened sense of sensibilities, because Nell here is like the focal point, I think, of the story. It actually
Mm,
connects Nell entirely to the history of the house throughout what she figures out. Because as time goes on, okay, so the first night that is okay. So they're given these packets to go through while they're there, and they're told this story that um, Hugh Crane was a uh, a man definitely with money, and he owned some mills, and he married uh, married twice, I believe, and he definitely wanted children to fill the house, and that was the story that the bedtime story that they were told. Basically, he was a man with money who married happily, and he just wanted to fill the house with children, and sometimes the townsfolk uh, at night can hear the sounds of children. That's basically what they're told, isn't that correct, Tammy?
Yes.
But after the two leave, that's when he goes and tells Luke, "Okay, I didn't want to bring this up then, but here it turns out there's a darker chapter to the Hill House." So shortly after, you see Luke catching up with the girls, and he's like, "Okay, it turns out there is a darker chapter, and this is what happened. Evidently, his first wife actually killed herself." You know,
uh, oh yeah, which makes me want. Ah, yeah, the first wife, but also later on, it was said that Eleanor was a descendant of his second wife. Now, how is that possible if he killed all the children that she had with him?
well, see, that's something I'm unsure about, but there is a necklace that says C that's on Nell's neck that she's been wearing since she got there, and she ends up seeing it in the photographs of Caroline. That was the second wife, I believe. and it's the ghosts of these children that actually lead her into the library, which has a hidden room at night. But let's go backwards a moment, because on the first night, the girls experience a moment where they hear pounding all around their rooms, and so Nell quickly runs across the connected bathroom to the other bedroom that's connected to her. In fact, their bedrooms are connected somewhat by a separate bathroom, or a shared bathroom, I believe. So they're in this bed, and you can hear the sounds of this pounding, boom, and the shaking of the ceiling, boom, boom, boom. It keeps coming closer, and you see the door shaking, and then they open up the door, and it's Luke, actually on the other side, and they're like, "Didn't you see anyone come past?" "No, I heard you guys screaming, 'Help me, help us!'" And Theo's like, "I wouldn't say that." And that's when Dr. Markham came in and was like, "I never heard anything." "Luke, did you hear anything?" "No, I was just walking around." In fact, I think those two, Dr. Markham and Owen, Luke, actually ran into each other, because he couldn't sleep. He was um, throwing a baseball in his hand up and down in a glove. That's what he does when he sleeps, or when he can't sleep. And I guess him and Markham ran into each other, and he was like, "What are you doing?" "I'm just making notes, or whatnot. Oh, I can't sleep. This is what I do when I can't sleep. Besides, uh, you decided to set us up in this uberly creepy house. How can you sleep in it?" You know. So, well, the best place to put you in is in the creepiest house to figure out what makes you tick and all that jazz. So, but evidently they looked around, couldn't find anything, and I guess they let that rest. I believe the next moment we have Nell sitting in one of the. I believe she is sitting in that parlor with that big flue, that big fireplace with that big flue. That eventually they I guess there's a moment where the flue comes down, and she sees this like this like glowing eyes or whatnot, and that's when they find out that there's this like old lion head that swings down, and that's what they call a flue. I don't know exactly what a flue is. Tammy, do you know?
Yeah, yeah, I didn't know either, aside from the other more obvious meaning of that word.
Do you know what a flue does, Tammy? We can't hear you.
Ooh, it makes you cough, sneeze, gives you fever, stuff
Tammy,
like that.
you're on mute, Tammy.
I think the flue is what opens the chimney up for the smoke to escape.
uh, yeah, yeah, they did say something about opening the chimney.
I think that's what the flue does. You have to open the flue so that the smoke goes out the chimney instead of into your house.
Okay.
Uh,
I've
yeah,
never
okay.
though I've been in some houses that have them, but not as big as this, and not as like gloomy.
Good, good thing.
Well, you
Good
can't
thing.
walk in, you can't walk around inside most fireplaces either.
No, and you can definitely walk around in this fireplace and stick some bodies underneath, but which we find out later, and I think it's that second evening that Nell actually gets up and follows these bloody footprints to the library, and it takes her to a ledger that shows her, or is that later? I think she actually is taken to this hidden room behind the library, and that's when it finds this book that flips through and shows her the is it the fireplace, or is this the a moment where she finds all the names of the kids are crossed off?
Uh, I think the part with the names goes first, if I remember correctly.
Okay, she then realizes the ages of these kids, and I think she connects two and two that Hugh Crane actually might have actually killed these kids and hid their appearances in the house. And there were all these fucking lines through all these fucking kids. Like some of them were 10, 12, 13, 9,
Oh yeah.
which means he basically kept a sweatshop house with his, in his mills. Um, all the local kids that ended up disappearing years ago would disappear because of Hugh Crane. Probably due to the fact that he wanted to fill his house with kids. Well, I guess in every sense of the word, he did. And all the kids that he ended up killing, all their spirits ended up inside the house. So that's one thing that she figured out, and then she also somehow figured out that she's related to Caroline, and by the end of the movie, she ended up thinking that she was supposed to protect them from Hugh Crane. And it took her a while to figure all of this out, and I think that's why we found her up on those stairs, because it looks like she was going to jump to protect the children. And the others started to realize that something was going on. I'm trying to remember. Okay, so the first time that they actually realized that not everything was in her mind. Oh, that's right. Someone wrote "Welcome Home, Eleanor" all over like this huge painting of Hugh Crane in like blood. I think it was blood.
I guess
Either
it
red
was.
paint. I think it's
It
red.
was. Maybe it was supposed to be blood, but the shade of red wasn't really much like blood. Actually, I noticed that when there were those bloody footprints, the shade of red wasn't quite like blood either.
No, but they were definitely small, like children's. So it made you think that okay, we had some ghostly footprints here leading away from there, And then, of course, Hugh Crane came and visited her in the room, which she threw some kind of, I think she threw some kind of jewelry box at the glass, which threw it right back at her, and all that glass flew at her. She ran down the hallway, and that was when you saw the ceiling crumble each time he was chasing after her. And then that's, I think, when we get the moment of that ghostly child coming through the curtain and having her follow. And all that jazz. And then I think around that point is somewhere before that point is where here is Crow.
Well, hello.
Well, hello.
Who is the squab now?
Hey,
Did you fall asleep?
yeah.
Alrighty. Well, why don't we get your first impressions of this movie?
I saw this in the theaters when it came out. So it's not the first time I saw it. I believe it's the second though. I don't think I saw it since. I did enjoy it. I liked it. It was interesting. Um, the I think there was kind of a little bit of a twist at the end that you don't exactly see, but I thought it made sense and I liked it.
If you saw the original, you can kind of expect that ending too.
I never saw the
Although,
original.
Ah,
I even know there was an original until like when they said that you know we're watching the
although
remake.
when I was watching the remake for the first time, since they did so many things differently from the original, I kind of hoped the ending might be different too, but
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad they didn't change the ending because the ending was I mean I liked it. So yeah, like I said, I never saw the original, so um yeah, I wouldn't know what they changed or didn't change, but yeah, I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was good. Great acting, of course. Catherine Zeta-Jones and
of course.
Luke Wilson and Liam Neeson as well. I mean, how can you go wrong? Yeah.
oh yeah. So at this point, I have her running through that hallway, and Hugh Crane is like following her, and you can see the ceiling crumbling at at the very top while she's running through. I think she runs through that circular carnival sounding
Yeah.
room with mirrors, and you see her walking through that those stacks of books that look like they're in a pond. Um, and I think that's around the time that she actually sees that ghost that comes through the curtain, um, and all that jazz. And I'm thinking this is the point where she actually um, goes into the no, she goes into the room in the end, but she there's this big giant hand that comes out of this room and tries to chase her. I think during this time frame. There's also a moment where Liam Neeson as Dr. Markham, he goes and because evidently during her meanderings with the kids, she goes and after that night that she was in the library, and it flips through that big pop-up book or whatnot. It shows Caroline pointing towards the fireplace, and so she goes to the fireplace and she opens it up, and she's digging around with a fire stick poker, and she pokes it into the skull of a child. It looks like, and the skeleton like pops up, and that's when she freaks out. And as she goes to them, nobody believes her, and whatnot. And that's when Theo gets mad at Dr. Markham and tells him, and that's when she finds out that they're all really there for, because they they didn't know that they were there for him to study their fear.
Oh, yeah. He said insomnia.
But and she
Yeah,
slaps him and says, "You don't feel." And then he starts to walk away, and and she's like, "Where are you going?"
You
I'm going
know,
to go and check out and see what she was talking about.
you don't tell the rats they're in a maze.
Exactly.
yeah.
I'm trying to think. There was a moment where he was um, talking into his thing, his little recorder,
Yeah.
and I like this part where the statue actually grabs him and tries to drown him. Trying to think if that's later after this or not, but I remember that happening.
Uh, I think that happens at the point where he is already aware that something paranormal is happening there.
Oh yeah, that's right. That happens like I think that happens after they get her away from. Okay, so she's they take Nell and put her in her room because she's in hysterics after seeing that shit in the fireplace place and figuring out that that's where Hugh Crane buries gets rid of the evidence, because the story is already unraveling. There's more to the story. Um, uh, we obviously figure out that Hugh Crane is this like multi-billionaire dude who made his money off the backs of children that he actually killed and made disappear and go away. And I have a feeling that he somewhat had kept bringing children home for the wives or the wife because he wanted to make that house filled with children, except it just wasn't fine. But um, so while she's in the room, they go out, leave her alone. That's when it starts getting cool because these rafters start to look like eyes, and then the wooden spokes that are on the ceiling become like these arms and tentacles that come and trap her. I thought that part was the coolest part ever. Um, I mean, this was the most malevolent scene that I've ever seen. Where the house is actually attacking her. And they have to take these legs of chairs and like hack these tentacle things of wood right off to get her out of there. And I think this is when they start trying to run with Nell, and I believe there's a moment where both Luke and Dr. Markham are throwing chairs at windows, trying to get themselves out of there. The chairs stick to the windows, and I think that's about when Luke runs, ends up on a red carpet that pulls his ass to the fireplace, and the chimney flue lops his head off.
Oh
What do y'all
yes,
think
put
about
down.
what do y'all think about that whole section there, Tammy? What did you think about
I
that?
like I like the whole room scene like you did. I thought that was really cool. How the room just kind of like came alive and attacked. That was pretty awesome. How it all happened. Um, and then when they're all trying to get out of there, and when Luke gets taken back to the fireplace, you just had a feeling something was gonna happen. All of a sudden, that thing comes, boom! But I was like, oh my god! It just like because it looks like a lion's head. So that it looks like it just like ate his head off, you know.
Can anyone guess my thoughts on that scene?
Spadal.
Wow.
Yes.
What did you think about all of that scenery, Crow?
Yeah, it was definitely. It was like it was the best. It was awesome. It was really great seeing it in the theater too. Really good special effects with it. You know, like I said, I'm not the biggest horror fan per se, but you know, I really enjoyed the supernatural stories. You know, and the old
Ooh.
monsters. So I thought this was a really great movie, and you know, that scene was just top notch.
Okay, what did you think, Morris?
Mm, I thought it was a really good Spudal, but aside from that, yeah, it's been a while since I saw the movie for the first time, so I had completely forgotten that Luke was going to die. So yeah, it did somewhat surprise me. And yeah, that part when they were throwing chairs at the windows, but they were just remaining stuck there, that was also pretty interesting. Mm, what else was I going to say? Not sure, but yeah, it was a pretty well done scene.
Alrighty, so we do have, um, I believe we have Eleanor Nell um, running off, and we do have that moment where she goes up the spiral staircase, and you see her like at the top, and they're all scared. Well, yeah, both Dr. Markham and Theo are scared of her falling and whatnot, so he tries to go up there, and the darn thing is so rickety that it starts to fall apart. And she finally actually takes and helps his ass up there. Um, and so there is that a moment, and then I think she also does run off because she's following whatever the children are trying to tell her, and she ends up in that locked room. Well, it was locked at one point in time, I think. And it's the same room in which the hand came out and tried to grab her while she was running at one point. Um, and she's basically cranking this music that you hear throughout the film. It's basically like the main music piece that you hear. Do da 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 da. You know that's the music that you hear that she's cranking, and the there's a picture in the background that was at her mother's place, and a cane that was nearby, and she said this is when she reveals that Caroline was in fact her great grandmother, and this is what the kids were trying to tell her, and she really feels that she is there to protect the children, and this is her home. And they try to tell her, hey, okay, yeah, okay. This is when the hand actually comes out, because they're trying to get her to leave, and she's not wanting to leave at that point in time. And she said, okay, I'll help you guys get out. I know the way. So they go and leave. The door slams shut behind them, and then that's when Hugh Crane, well, that which you think is Hugh Crane, because there's this big ass hand that comes out after them as they end up going that way. And there is a door that I do want to mention that I don't think was mentioned, that that Theo and Nell had went and looked at, and she said that it is a depiction of purgatory. She says, "I know, I was there for 11 years."
Yeah, I can.
And then Catherine Zeta-Jones' character was like, "Yeah, oh yeah, me too. Flight 14 hour flight, and I'm stuck in coach or whatever."
Yeah. And it also says on the door, "All who stand here shall be judged." And,
yeah.
And it is this door that Eleanor ends up going to when this big, humongous Hugh Crane spirit comes floating down, and and this is when she takes her stand. I mean, this is quite a speech that comes from her. She's basically calling him grandfather and telling him that he can no longer or touch the children, that she's there to protect them from him, and all that jazz, and that she's here to stay, you know. And he comes down. He comes whooshing through her, and I love this part. These fucking statues in that fucking door grab his ass.
Yeah,
And they grab his soul and stick his soul in purgatory.
but didn't she say he was supposed to go to hell?
Yeah,
Exactly.
which is basically where you think that he went to, even though some people don't believe in a hell. So,
Nope, some people don't.
but he went somewhere. All I know is it wasn't here. And then as soon as his soul was trapped there, all the children's souls went out of that door and floated up and started saying, "Thank you, Eleanor. Thank you, Eleanor." And then she apparently died as well. And honestly, she didn't really have anything to go back to, because her family was basically,
Kicking her out of her apartment.
And selling off all her shit, just giving her that dinky ass car, which Luke ended up destroying anyways.
Spoon down.
which you weren't here for this, but there was something that Tammy said. Did you notice that Dr. Markham actually unlocks the door for his helpers to get out? Unlock the gate, the chain, and all that, and yet we never saw the Dudleys leave or anything like that. So technically, it kind of left it open. Like Dr. Markham actually could have had a way for them to get out.
Right.
So, but it's at this point where you find them standing in front of the car that's in front of the gate when the Dudleys come and be like, Dr. Markham, did you find what you were looking for? But you can't forget the widely sweeping panoramic view of the outside side of that the place that was used for Hill House. That is a fucking beautiful fucking place on the outside.
Yeah, it's beautiful inside too.
Well, a lot of those interiors were done in a stage, which is kind of
Right.
funny. I don't think any of that interior was actually inside the actual place that they used for the outside.
That's kind of a
We don't-
shame.
We don't stay after dark in the night.
So I think at this
No one will hear you if you are in trouble if you scream. And then
no one will come any nearer than that in the night, in the dark.
9 miles is how far we are away.
Hoot.
I know, but they're a lot to dust. But I think at this point we are at the moment of production. So, Kroll, since you haven't had a whole lot of screen time, why don't you tell us what you thought?
The production was just fucking phenomenal. I mean, all the scenes they did. You know, I mean, this was a '90s movie, and you know, I don't think they could have done better today with CGI and stuff. I mean, it was, you know, it really felt like it was the house was attacking her, and you know, just the whole thing was just spectacular. I mean, the rooms were so freaking amazing. I mean, you know, it really looked like a gorgeous house, you know, and gorgeous and creepy at the same time, with all the artistry and the structures and of course the doors to purgatory and everything, you know. So it just yeah, the whole production was just really top notch, one of a kind.
Honestly, as far as aesthetics go, I wouldn't mind living there at all.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but yeah, it was definitely gorgeous house inside. Now, yeah, even though it, you know, and the fact that it wasn't, you know, none of the house inside was actually the house inside. That makes the production even better because they did such a wonderful job making it look like it was the real rooms that would be in the house, and you know,
Good point.
everything fit where it would. I mean, I don't recognize anything poking out with me like, oh, that looks like out of place or
I think the only
anything.
room that might have been on the inside of the place was something that Tammy mentioned earlier. That circular foyer that they arrived in, that
Yeah,
was like inside on the inside of the place, I think.
yeah. I could definitely see that, but Yeah, they did such an incredible job with the production of this movie.
Okay. What about you, Boris?
I also agree pretty much with Crow. The production was definitely amazing. I already said, yeah, there was some CGI, but even for the nowadays standards, I cannot really point out any flaw, anything that could have been done better than it was. And yeah, I have already said how much I like all the exteriors and interiors of the house. And yeah, as Kroll says, if they put it all together for the movie, if that's not what the house looks like on a regular basis, that does make it even more impressive, even though it's a little sad that if that house doesn't really exist in that exact shape and form. But yeah, it was all well done, and there was this one moment when Eleanor threw something at the window, and the shards of glass came flying back towards her. I thought how amazing that would look in 3D nowadays.
I could see that happening.
Yeah.
But Tammy, what did you think about production?
I thought it was very good. I liked how they, one of the things they really is like when the room attacked. I thought that was really cool how they did that, and um, just the just the little things that like that room that with the mirrors and the music they went around. I thought that was neat how they portrayed that, um, and then when we went up to that other room where you had to step on the books and the that are in the water. It's like all these little things, of course, all the carvings everywhere was really awesome, you know,
Oh
and
yeah.
the whole inside of the place and the little things that went on was just also magnificent. It really, I think it really brought to the movie itself.
Yeah. Oh yeah, my only small complaint about production would be the blood in when there was this bloody writing on the wall and the footprints and stuff like that, which I already mentioned. The the shade of red wasn't quite the best one, which it kind of surprises me they made that mistake since otherwise they really put a lot of effort and attention into details. But yeah, that's probably the only thing I would point out as a flaw when it comes to production.
I don't know. I thought it looked pretty good. Good to me. Um, at the time that I saw it in the theater, it was believable for me. Me, I thought the production of this was phenomenal for its time. I'd never seen anything like that in a haunted house movie. I mean, a lot of how haunted house movies did everything with practical effects. This was done with CGI, and I know a lot of people were bitching about CGI to begin with when it first.
Yeah,
I thought that the CGI for the way that it looked then as it looks now, it was actually pretty darn good for 1999.
definitely.
Um, I also like any horror movie that has a hidden secret room in a library or behind a bookcase. Those are cool. Um, I thought those hallways were unique. I thought the different areas of the house were cool. I thought the CGI for some of the things that were in this were a lot better than that which that I saw the movie of Dark Shadows and the Eddie Murphy Haunted Mansion, and even from what I see of the new Haunted Mansion, it just seems like it was a hell of a lot better in this movie than I see in that movie. The technology that was used for the ghosts in the female Ghostbusters was crappy, to say the least. Um, Whereas the ghosts in here look believable to me. So, and just great location, great panoramic views of what I mean. When they do those panoramic shots, they make you feel like the house is breathing. I thought that was cool. So yeah, I have nothing but positivity for this movie, and for those who got annoyed with Lily Taylor's like screaming, fuck you.
Well, what was the problem with her screaming? I thought her screams were actually pretty good.
I don't know. When I was talking to this guy on a line on this like pretty prestigious blog, he seemed to be like downright turned off by the movie because of her. I was like, for what reason? You had to get her character to understand her reactions to everything, you know.
Well,
I believe it
re-
was for uh, was it Twisted Tales?
uh, realistically, who wouldn't be screaming in the scenes she was screaming in?
True that. Was it Twisted Tales? Yeah, it was Tom Holland's actual blog. Tom Holland did an anthology called Twisted Tale, and if you know anything by Tom Holland, he was the director of. He was the writer and the director of Fright Night and Child's Play
Oh,
and Psycho
wow,
2.
really?
And it was somebody writing for his actual blog
Huh.
that I got into an argument with, and I was like, ah. But in any case, that was back when I was writing reviews. So I got annoyed with the guy. But in any case, oh, didn't even realize you left, girl.
I didn't leave or got kicked.
Uh-huh.
Did Boris get kicked or was that on my end?
That was on your end, I think.
Yeah, I was like, I saw he was talking, and then all of a sudden he was like gone. And I was like, oh, I guess we won't know. And then all of a sudden I saw I was kicked, and it took me a few minutes to get back. And then you weren't paying attention. So yeah.
Well, it's also possible that my audio glitches because my connection kind of sucks as usual.
And now we lost Tammy.
Oh, did we?
Apparently so.
Apparently.
Coming back?
Apparently, yeah.
We'll see. So,
This movie was 1994.
did you hear me about
1999, as far as I know.
Did you hear me about the Tom Holland thing?
Yeah, I was backstage.
It
And I was trying to talk, but I forgot I was backstage. So I was saying I don't think it's the same Tom Holland that played Spider-Man.
it was Tom Holland's blog. Evidently, he had a young writer writing for his blog that because he's got a blog that he writes on. It's his actually own personal blog. So but I don't even know if he's doing it anymore. I just remember back in 2013 he did an anthology film called Twisted Tales. So, but in any case, moving on to music. What did y'all think about the because I do think they did go with a composer.
I thought the music was decent. Okay, maybe that melody in the ending credits was a bit maybe not dark enough for a movie like this, but otherwise everything okay.
Okay. What about you, Tammy? What did you think about the music? You're on mute.
Actually, she isn't appearing on mute to me, but she's apparently not saying anything.
Well, I can hear you in like in the other room, but we can't hear you here.
Huh.
So
Oh, strange.
log out and log back in.
Who?
Don't know what was happening there, but what did you think? Music, Boris? Oh yeah, right. I already went with you.
Yeah, I already said it.
Kroll, what did you think of music?
It was fine. Nothing spectacular.
I thought that the music for when they represented having to do with Caroline, the da 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 da. I thought that was a unique thing, and the music was in fact done by Jerry Goldsmith.
Oh. Oh, wow.
So Jerry Goldsmith is known for Star Trek First Contact, one of Tammy's favorites of Star Trek.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you
Yes.
Yep.
now. Jerry Goldsmith was the one who did the music, and I just said he did the music for Star Trek First Contact, L.A. Confidential, The Boys from Brazil, Congo. Some of those were some of his.
Shame on you, you didn't mention the Omen.
Well, it didn't come up. It come up right away, so that's why you were going like, "Ooh."
Yes, yes.
You
Oh,
recognized
he also.
right away. You.
Sorry, what did you say?
I said you. You recognized that right away. You devil worshiper. You.
I'm not sure I'm quite a devil worshipper, but yeah, I did recognize the name right away because of the Omen.
Anyone who, while their parents are away, decorates their living room with Baphomet sculptures and a Baphomet Christmas tree.
Well, to my defense, I have only one Baphomet statue and one Baphomet plushie. Okay, and Christmas tree ornaments.
See? Anyway, moving on. So, favorite scenes and or favorite character. Let's start with you, Crow.
move along. Do me last.
Okay. Okay, Boris. Why don't you tell us a little bit, a bit about your favorite character and/or favorite scene in the movie?
Oh, favorite character, probably Theo, even though Eleanor is the one who is supposed to be the most interesting one. I somehow found Theo more interesting.
You gotta say Theo and then stick your tongue out, like Owen Wilson did, because he was slathering all over her.
Yeah. The favorite scene? Interesting question. Well, I definitely liked all the scenes with the ghosts, the hauntings, and so on, because they were really well done. But maybe I would choose the final confrontation with Hugh Crane.
Okay. Tammy, what did you think about what is your favorite scene and/or scenes and/or favorite character?
Date that her mom's life perfectly.
I guess Stella's my favorite character. But my favorite scenes is I like when the room is attacking her. It's just so cool looking, how it's coming down, and and the eyes made of the wood, and the things coming down like that. That was one of my favorite scenes, and the other is um I hate to say it, but when Luke gets his head chopped off,
Spudow!
that was kind of cool.
Yeah, although I felt kind of sorry for him, and also not sure what purpose his death served for the story.
I have many different favorite scenes here. I mean, I do like everything from the phone call, the newspaper, and then when later she goes to Dr. Markham and she was like, "Didn't you call me?" And he's like, "No, the first time I talked to you was when you showed up at the house." I like the moments when the statues turn their heads to look at her while she goes past. I like the moments of the stone ceilings crunching. I like the moment when the house tries to attack her in the room. I love that glass flying out at her, making her run. I like that ghost that goes through the curtains. I like that moment where I like a lot of moments. I like the final moment. I like everything about this movie. So I guess I would say it's one of my favorites.
Ooh.
But going to Carl. Favorite scene or scenes or favorite character? Oh, and Nell's my favorite character. They give her the best backstory. Carl, go. Crow,
Yeah.
your turn.
Nell is my favorite character. Of course, I love Catherine Zeta-Jones' character. She was great. Very sensual, sexual, and everything. But Nell, just her character, just it really felt like it was her story, and everyone else was just part of it. you know, um, right from the beginning and then all the way through. It, like I said, it just. I mean, we were watching everyone, but it really felt like the movie was her story. And fact that you find out that she was the great granddaughter and everything, so it's pretty cool. As far as scenes go, I actually like the scene where I just want to mention the scene where Luke almost gets like crushed by the flume. Was pretty cool. Of course, when he finally does get killed,
That's
and then
right.
how
He goes and checks it.
the house calls the other guy and gets him to come over, and of course the house attacking her and the final confrontation, everything. Those are the ultimate best scenes. But yeah, I just wanted to give notice to those few other scenes. Of course, them throwing chairs and stuff at the windows and them bouncing off stuff was pretty cool as well.
Okay. Well, is that it then?
Mm-hmm.
All righty. Well, hopefully you guys have enjoyed our discussion on The Haunting again. Hopefully we gave it some positivity all around. We definitely don't give it a 5.0 like dumbass IMDb. I personally give it a 10 out of 10 if I were to put it on that kind of a scale, but I don't like putting numbers on things. I think it's kind of insulting, but as a writer or whatnot, you either say it's good or bad, and you let other people decide. But, in any case, thank you for listening. Like, share, and subscribe. And we'll definitely be back next week with my choice, being The Purge, which is my choice, since I had to choose a horror film.
That's right, motherfucker.
I don't always to choose a horror film just because it's October.
Yes.
That's what annoys me is you people that love to choose horror movies all the time. During Halloween, you don't want to choose horror movies. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I was about to ask, since when do you have a problem with horror movies, Dave?
Because
well,
horror
he didn't want to choose a horror movie.
Because like Ministry, every day is Halloween.
That's to you people that look in the mirror and scare yourselves. But for us other people, it's not.
Well, you people who don't think that Halloween is every day are nuts. I wake up every morning, and Tammy turns on the news, and there's another death.
So, that's why you don't put on the freaking news.
When you put it that way,
it does. So to me, every day is Halloween.
That's why you never put on the news. Golden rule.
But in any case, like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you all next week for a 24-hour purge.
Okay.
Everyone say good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
I say good day.
I say good.